This is Viva Fry.
I'm Dr. Peter McCullough.
This is Tom Luongo.
This is Chuck Prodnick.
This is Alex Kreiner.
Hey, this is Brad Wall.
This is JP Sears.
Hi, this is Frank Peretti.
This is Tammy Peterson.
This is Danielle Smith.
This is James Lindsay.
Hey, this is Brett Kissel, and you're listening to the Sean Newman Podcast.
Welcome to the podcast, folks. Happy Thursday, episode 1000. Yeah, we finally made it. I don't even know what to do with that. Pretty cool. Yeah, thanks for being here. And there had been a cool comment on Substack. I should have pulled this up right away because that would have been smart, Sean. And it was about the Lindy effect. And if the Lindy effect is true, then the person looks forward to another 1,000 episodes of the Sean Newman Podcast. I was like, yeah, that's a cool little way of looking at it, I guess. Anyways, it's been a ride. 1,000 episodes. I had a whole bunch of things that I wanted to do this week, and then I've been in and out of the hospital every day this week, and it's like, yeah, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? So a shout out to Drew Weatherhead. That's how this interview comes to be. It's how we get Eddie Bravo on the show is because of Drew's connections there. I threw it out to a lot of different people. You know, let's just go out and find a guest that I normally wouldn't get, and I'm gonna be honest. I normally would not get Eddie Bravo. So, enjoy the 1,000th, and thank you for everybody being a part of this and continuing to be a part of this. We've got interesting times ahead of us, so I don't think it's going to be anything dull in the next 1,000. That is probably guaranteed for sure, okay? I don't even know if that sentence makes sense, but regardless, okay? Thanks for being here. Here's some episode sponsors of today's episodes. Did you know you can hold physical gold and silver in your registered accounts? Silver Gold Bull can help unlock the potential of your RRSP, TFSA, RIF, or Kids RESP by adding physical gold and silver to your account. The deadline, March 2nd, folks. Other thing that Silver Gold Bull, in the last, what has it been, folks, 400 or 500 episodes, they've stepped in as a title sponsor on the podcast and have also been were one of the ones, but BVCU being the other, to convince me to take the Cornerstone Forum, which is coming up, to Calgary. So shout out to Silver Gold Bull on their impact on the SMP. You can text or email Graham for details with any questions you have around investing in precious metals or for future silver deals exclusively for you, the SMP listener, silvergoldbull.ca. It's been an interesting ride with a company that I knew jack squat about until I brought, Tom Luongo, Alex Kreiner to Lloydminster back in, what was that? June of 2023. Think about that for a second. Time is flying. And it's funny. Got to meet Nick there. And, lots of different things have gone along since then. And when it comes to silver and gold and knowing more about it, you can look to them for it. Guardian Plumbing and Heating. These guys have been keeping homes, farms, and businesses running smoothly since 2010. And whether it's expert service, cutting-edge power solutions, or advice you can trust, Guardian Plumbing and Heating has your back. When it comes to the Sean Newman Podcast, they've been the sponsor of the Blue Collar Roundtable, which I've been meaning to get more of because you got this new studio, and then things just slowly meander, and you lose time or you get sick, as I have been. But Guardian hasn't wavered one iota, and that's the way they treat their business too. I've got to give them a call back because they want to come in and do a service check, and it's one of the things that I don't know, sets them apart. You can find out more about them, guardianplumbing.ca. Ignite Distribution. We're talking about their filter sale. All right, why not on the 1,000th episode? How about you go save some big money? Everything's costing more. How about this one? Their once per year filter sale. It's below cost price saving of 50% or more on all Napa Gold filters. The only way we can sell at these prices is that during the event, the manufacturer will subsidize our losses by rebating them back. It's a great time to buy a year's supply for all your farm, HD equipment, lawn and garden, and regular automotive equipment. Anyone who's interested can call their team at 780-842-3433. And if you can't write that down fast enough, just text me. I can put you in contact. They need to place all these filter orders by March 2nd, 2026, okay? March 2nd becoming a very important day. And I'm just scrolling here, all right? We'll go with, how about a New Holland, okay? We did a Peterbilt. We did a 2018 Ram diesel. We'll do a New Holland, okay? Here's one, the fuel, okay? Filter type, fuel, normally $229, now $93, okay? You're getting 59% savings. I'm just saying, if you want to save a bit of money, make a phone call. Might be saving like crazy amounts of money, folks. Just saying. To all the other sponsors of the podcast, shout out to all of you. It's the 1,000th episode. And I know I'm going to have some people. I'm closing in on 6 minutes. Forgive me. It's the 1,000th. Suck it up. Fast forward. Do whatever you're going to do. Comment below. I'm sure you're going to have your say. But to all the companies that have come and gone or stayed with, thank you. 1,000 episodes. We did not start out to make it here. I'll be full stop. I was not thinking that far ahead. I was thinking of like, this is a lot of fun. And now it's funny. I'm like a vision board of like, if I wanted to get to episode 10,000 and I kept the current trajectory, you know how long that would take, folks? I'd be 84 years old. I'm like, holy crap. Okay, well, we're going to start this thing and we're going to see where we get to, right? Like, so 1,000, that's small fry now, really. You want to get to where you're in a different echelon, 10,000 episodes at the pace I'm currently doing. Another 44 years. So, yeah, buckle up. We're in for a ride. It's just the beginning of this journey, at least on this side. As long as this leg heals up and, they get me back in working order, which I have faith. I'm not that worried. But certainly would be nice to be back on both legs, not worrying about all the different things. So it's been an interesting week. 1,000, okay? To all the guests who've entrusted me to allow them on and have their say. And, I know there's a lot of people that have liked, hated, all in between. And, honestly, I'm just thankful for all the guests that allowed me to have them on and let them share their story and trust me with doing that. I hope I've created a bit of a reputation for myself now where it's become a space where it can be trusted. Certainly, I know over the last couple weeks, it's been interesting on my end. I had my Spotify account hacked where I've released the podcast. And so we're looking into that and definitely beefing up security here because if, the next year looks at anything here in Alberta, it's going to be wild times. And hopefully the S&P is maybe not front and center in the wild times, but we're certainly going to be talking about it, aren't we? So that usually means your security better be buffed up. Yeah, so we're working on that. The Cornerstone Forum is, I think it's 44 days away now. There is 41 tickets as I'm sitting here recording this left. The procrastinator, I know you're sitting there and you're going, yeah, I'm going to get it today. And then you're going to get sidetracked. I'm speaking to Sean, myself, out there somewhere. Buddy, I know. Just put it down and go buy the tickets right now because there's 4 tables left. And eventually you're going to be sitting there on the day it comes going, I want tickets to that. Why didn't I get tickets? Is there tickets available? No, it's sold out. He told me. I'm telling you. Go buy a ticket. showpass.com/cornerstone26. And I don't know. To all of you fine listeners, as I close in on 10 minutes, and I promise I'll be done at 10. Just appreciate you searching out guests, sending me different things to listen to, watch, etc. Do I get to them all? No, I do not. That is a crazy amount. But I appreciate it nonetheless. It's one of the ways I can start to spot trends when the same bloody video comes through like 10 times. You're like, what is going on? But there's been interesting guests and insights come off some of the things you have sent. So don't stop. You're never blowing my phone up. That's what it's there for. I enjoy hearing from each and every one of you. I hear all the time that I'm slowly becoming part of your daily routine or your family's this or that. And well, you guys texting has an impact on this side too. It kind of gives me an idea of where things are at and what you're thinking. With all that said, I've gone for 10 minutes. Somebody is absolutely annoyed with me right now, and that's okay. Be annoyed. Be annoyed. I'm not annoyed on this side. It's my 1000th episode, so suck it up. Let's get on to that tale of the tape. Today's guest, the founder of 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. I'm talking about Eddie Bravo. So buckle up. Here we go. Well, welcome to the Sean Newman podcast. Today I'm joined by Eddie Bravo. Eddie, thanks for doing this.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, it's kind of a big day on this side. 1000th episode. When I started this thing in 2019, I was just saying, I don't know if I thought I was going to get to episode 10, let alone episode 1000. So you're kind of a crown jewel on this side for the 1000th episode. So I appreciate you hopping on and being a part of this. And I should give a shout out to Drew Weatherhead for helping connect us to make this a possibility.
Hell yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Drew's awesome. I love that guy.
Now, Eddie, your first time you ever been on the show. And so what I do with newcomers is I get them to tell a little bit about their story. You can go long, short, but I'd appreciate hearing a little bit of your backstory.
Well, I grew up wanting to be a rock star, played in bands, played drums in speed metal bands in the 80s in my teens, and then switched to guitar in the 90s, moved to Hollywood, tried to get a record deal, started doing martial arts and to stay in shape so I wouldn't be a fat rock star. And then got into jiu-jitsu after seeing the UFC, but still trying to get a record deal. Now it's the 2000s, 2003. I qualify for Abu Dhabi in Brazil, Sao Paulo, and I'm still trying to get a record deal. But jiu-jitsu was just like a hobby that I loved and got obsessed with. And I ended up in Brazil, in this crazy bracket with a bunch of world champion black belts. I was still a brown belt. And I thought I was just going to get my ass slaughtered. I was into like just the free vacation because I won the trials, the Abu Dhabi trials that was in San Diego, October 2002. And, you get a free plane ticket to Brazil to get your ass whipped by a bunch of Brazilian black belt world champions. And I beat the first guy, choked him out, which kind of shocked and gave me a little confidence. And my next guy was Royler Gracie. And I was like, oh, shit, I'm fighting my idol. It was crazy. It was weird watching him across the mat. I was like, God damn, I'm fighting my idol. Holy shit. And man, with 45 seconds, I got lucky, put him in a triangle, tapped him out. It was insane. It was like winning the Super Bowl. But my next match, it wasn't over. It was a 16-man bracket. I still needed to fight 2 more times to win the whole thing. And my next guy was Leo Vieira, who was the current rising star, winning everything. And he beat the shit out of me. So I come back to LA and, I was sad because it's like I won the Super Bowl, but I had to go out and fight another match, or play another game, and then I lose. Like that first Super Bowl didn't really mean anything to me, really, because I got my ass beat the next match. But most people were on the internet talking about how I beat Royler Gracie, who was 3-time ADCC champion. No one ever scored a point against him. So that was like a massive upset, maybe the biggest upset ever in jiu-jitsu. I don't know, but it's one of them. And even though I got my ass crushed the next match, I guess people still thought like, oh, you beat Royler, you tapped him out, and meant something. So I opened up a school, quit my job. I was really unhappy at the current job I had at that time, which was writing comedy for The Man Show. Joe Rogan was on The Man Show. He's a friend of mine, and he got me the job there, but it was horrible. I hated it. So when I went to Brazil, I was a comedy writer. So I came back, quit that job. I hated it, and then just opened up. I didn't open up a school. I went to a school that had previously offered me a job to teach jiu-jitsu that I declined because I didn't think anybody would want to learn jiu-jitsu from some brown belt Mexican. But now I'm back. I get my black belt as soon as I get back. I'm the guy that beat Royler. I'm like, oh shit, okay, this is a good job until I get a record deal. I'm like, I'll do this instead of writing comedy until I get a record deal. So I opened up schools, 10th Planet. I'm inside of a boxing gym teaching jiu-jitsu. And, there's Muay Thai classes and boxing classes going on all around. But I'm teaching the jiu-jitsu there. And it was only until I got a record deal. But I never got the record deal. No one liked my music enough. And the jiu-jitsu kept growing and growing. And, now, thank God I didn't make it in music. Thank God. I love my life. I love teaching jiu-jitsu. I love, what ended up happening to my life.
If I go back, I'm sure you don't look back that often. Maybe you do. I assume you don't. But I find it humorous on this side because one of the choices you make was BJJ. I want to do something so I'm not a fat rock star. And, and that leads you, a simple choice of starting to do something beneficial for your body. And I might argue your mind, leads you off into a different, universe of where you were heading, right? I want to be a rock star. Wait, I don't want to be the fat guy on stage. I better do something. And then you fall into, and maybe it's a lot more complicated than that, but it feels like you fall into BJJ and it sends you on a rocket ship somewhere completely different.
That's what happened. It was not planned. I thought teaching jiu-jitsu was just temporary. It was like, what a cool job, until I get that record deal and I start touring the world. I'm like, you know what? But when I start touring the world and playing arenas, I was like thinking all about it and everything. I was like, my roadies are going to be all jiu-jitsu guys. And during the day, we're going to have mats. We're going to train jiu-jitsu. And then we're going to play these arenas at night. I had it all planned out, but it didn't end up working out that way.
To somebody who's never trained jiu-jitsu, I've rolled. I've been choked out several times, but the consistency part, right? Anything that, you get good at, you have to have the consistency, the discipline to stay in it. To people who've maybe never done it or have tried it and never gone back and stayed consistent with it, what would be your advice to them?
It's never too late to go back. It really is. I started jiu-jitsu when I was 24, and that's, in regards to like being like some kind of jiu-jitsu champion or being the best ever, you would say, you'd have to start as a kid, just like football, hockey, baseball, all the top stars. You have to start as a kid. I started when I was 24. So, and I made a little bit of noise. I didn't win any world championships or anything, but I'm making a living with jiu-jitsu, and I'm 55 now. I'm old. So, and I still teach. I still love it. I still have a passion for it. It's never too late to come back. Some people start when they're 40. Some people start when they're 50. Some people, start when they're 20 and then they restart at 30. Some people start when they're 7 and 8 and then quit and then restart when they're 25. There's so many different roads that people take.
Well, for you, how did it change your life? I think about, sitting here on the 1,000th episode, when I first started podcasting, I'd listened to a Joe Rogan had interviewed a Canadian, Jordan Peterson, and I listened to it. I was like, oh my God, I could do this. Like, not necessarily that good, but I was like, I could probably do this. And, back then I wasn't thinking about the 1,000th episode. And just when you start training, I highly doubt you're thinking about wrestling Gracie, rolling with him, and all the things that would come to that, training so many different individuals. Like how is it? I don't know. I sit here on the 1,000th. I guess I'm every once in a while I have a moment on the podcast where I'm like, man, I have completely changed who I am. I assume it's similar with your, I don't know, career track.
I had no idea my life would end up like this, but I'm so grateful that it did. I wouldn't change it for the world. If I would have blown up in the '90s, if I would have someone would have liked my music and I would have got a major record deal, shit, I might be dead by now. You know what I mean? I'm very happy that my life ended up the way it did, because my life is I can't complain. Everything is good, and I still make music. I still put out albums. I just don't, I just don't um, expect everybody to like it. But I don't give a shit. I'm just having fun.
When I was working in the oil field, and I was unhappy in my job, and I remember looking at a ton of different careers of maybe I could hop to this, maybe I could do this. I remember one of the ones was a water salesman. I'm like, everybody loves water, right? Let's just find something that is completely different, maybe a little similar to what I'm doing. Writing for the Man Show, I would assume a lot of people would be like, that's a great job, and yet you're like, I hated my job.
It was terrible.
Could you walk?
It was,
Could you walk me
it was
through
terrible.
that?
Yeah, I met Joe Rogan training jiu-jitsu at Jean Jacques Machado's academy. I was a purple belt and he was a blue belt, and I'd seen him at the gym, and people were saying, yeah, that guy was on some show on TV, and he was on news radio, which was a very successful sitcom, but it was over at that point. And he was in between jobs, and he was training jiu-jitsu and focusing time in that. And then I saw him at the gym, never really met him, but he did comedy too. And I loved comedy. And I would go to the Comedy Store often. And, one night I went to the Comedy Store on a Sunday night, and there was they introduced Joe Rogan. I'm like, oh shit, that's the guy that trains at my gym. I hadn't met him yet. So he does a show, he kills it. And when he gets off stage, I come up and I'm like, yo, you train at Jean Jacques? He goes, yeah, I train. He goes, damn, I train there too. So then we sat down and started chopping it up. And then we became friends from that point. That was 1997. And I would always been, my main focus was writing music. And I loved comedy. I was a big comedy nerd. And I felt like, damn, it would be awesome to be a stand-up comedian. I felt like I could write. I felt like people thought, oh, you should get on stage. I would make people laugh every now and then. So I thought about it. And then when I was hanging out with Joe would say that. And Joe and Joey Diaz, I say, Joe, you got to jump on stage and figure it out. And I'm like, it was scary. But one day I did. I went up. They threw me up on a open mic night. I did okay, and then kind of survived. And then I kept going up. I went up 9 or 10 times, and then I realized, man, you really have to look at comedy like jiu-jitsu. The only way you're going to get good at jiu-jitsu is if you train 4 or 5 days a week. Same thing with comedy. You have to go up and you have to train your public speaking skills. You could be funny all you want in a locker room or in the parking lot with your buddies, but when you're on stage and the lights are on and there's people there that paid to laugh, man, there's a lot of pressure. And can you still be funny like you are in the parking lot? So comedy's two separate things, two separate skills: being funny and public speaking skills. There's a lot of comedians that are amazing with their public speaking skills. They can get on stage and just walk around super confident and super articulate and get their thoughts out, perfectly, but they're not funny. And then there's funny guys that get up on stage and just, fold under the pressure and the lights. So you have to have both. And maybe I was a little funny, Joe Rogan and Joey Diaz thought so. They threw me up on stage and everything, but I knew that I didn't have the public speaking skills. I knew, man, the only way I'm going to be able to be good at this is if I go out 4 or 5 nights a week, like real comics. And I couldn't do that. I was spending a lot of time with jiu-jitsu and my music. I couldn't do it. So I was like, you know what? I don't need 3 careers. I'm doing jiu-jitsu, I'm doing music, comedy. I felt like I could do it, but I didn't have the public speaking skills. So I just decided to just write comedy with Joe. And we started writing a bunch of sketches. I felt like I could, I had a thing for like commercial parodies for some reason. I always saw them in my head. And then we wrote like 35 sketches. And the plan was I'm like, I'm just going to be a writer. I'll stick with music. Music's my main goal, but my side thing would be like, I write comedy, but I don't have the public speaking skills to get up on stage and do it. But at least I can write it, and I'll just focus on my music and my jiu-jitsu. And then the Man Show lost Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Carolla. They did like 5 seasons, and they wanted to keep it going, even though Adam Carolla and Jimmy Kimmel were gone. They left. They were done. They did a whole shitload of episodes, and Adam Carolla was like, I can't do anymore. I'm done. It's time for the next project. But Comedy Central wanted to keep it going. So they knew Joe was pitching a sketch comedy show idea. He was already on, this was while he was on Fear Factor. So he was huge. So now he's in Fear Factor, huge, #1 show in the country. But me and him are writing sketches, and we want to do a sketch comedy thing on the side because, no matter how big Fear Factor got or News Radio got, Joe was always a comedian at heart, and that was his main focus, was writing comedy. So even though he's on Fear Factor and he's blowing up, he knows that it ain't gonna last forever, anyways. And comedy will always be there for him. So he was always loyal to the comedy. He gets offered the job at Comedy Central to take over for Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Carolla. And, he's on, like I said, he's on Fear Factor. So he has power. So he's like, I'm only going to go down and do a show on like a cable show. I'm on a network show, but, Comedy Central, if, I could do a show that I want. And, he wanted to be, in control, which makes sense. He's a superstar. So they said, okay. So after he had another friend of his, a comedian friend that was a good writer named Matty Kirsch, and Chris McGuire. And so he said, these are the writers I want. And they said, okay, we'll hire Chris McGuire and Matty Kirsch because they actually have writing credits and they've worked on shows before. But this Eddie Bravo guy, this guy has 0 experience. And Joe's like, no. He's one of the writers. Trust me. Me and him write a bunch of sketches together. Boom, I want him as a writer. And they said, no, we're not going to hire him. And then he put his foot down and like screamed at them. And it was a big deal. And then they finally said, oh, okay, we'll hire him, And so they hired me, but they gave me 0 respect and they treated me like garbage. And I hated that. So I was like, then I went to Brazil and, I'm thinking, man, this job ain't going to last. They can't fire me because Joe won't let them fire me, but it's going to get canceled because the show was shitty. And I was like, man, I'm 32 years old. I'm going to be looking for a job. What the fuck am I going to do? I was super depressed. Then I went to Brazil and I thought, okay, at least I'm going to get my ass kicked, but at least I get a vacation before I'm going to be unemployed at least. So I tap out Royler Gracie, which was a big upset. I come back. I quit the Man Show job. Joe totally understood. And I go, you know what? I'm going to jump on this right now. I got a little juice in the jiu-jitsu world. This comedy thing's falling apart. I'll just teach jiu-jitsu until I get the record deal. Fuck it. And that's it.
One of the things I was throwing around in my brain, I guess, before I sat down here is you're a guy who has a ton of accolades in the jiu-jitsu world. You've done like some crazy stuff. You've, like there's just things where I'm like, you've redefined parts of it. And at least that's from an outsider. Forgive me if I'm misstepping there. And then, in the world of podcasting, you've been one of those voices that has delved into some wild things. And then you look at the world today and you see how dark and wild it is. And maybe it always has been, Eddie. I mean, forgive me, I look back at some of the shows you've done and I'm like, man, I am just slow on the uptake. But one of the things I find, or maybe what I'm interested in, is how is it you haven't gone completely off the deep end, lost it all? You seem like a pretty positive guy. You're happy with where life is at. You got a life that you didn't plan, and yet somehow you've found your way into making a living, doing something you love, which I think a lot of people would like in life. And yet you've you've made headlines and everything else for pointing out like that doesn't make any sense, and that's pretty wild. And I'm probably being a little light on that, but how is it you haven't, I don't know, lost your utter mind when the craziness of the world is everywhere?
How haven't I lost my mind? Man, that's a good question. Because the world is insane, and I don't know what's going on. Like as of today, man, like I don't know. I don't know what's happening. I mean, there's just so much crazy shit going on. It's hard to pay attention to everything. Sometimes I just don't pay attention. These days, I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on. Let's see how it all plays out, and I'll just watch football until they figure it out. I'm like trying to distract myself because there's so much crazy shit going on. It's like all over the place. Like I don't know who to believe. I don't know who to trust. It's I mean, you're in Canada, right?
I'm in Canada. I'm in Alberta, where
What
the
part?
independent Alberta, the independence petition is going strong right now.
So Alberta's not as hardcore as other parts of Canada is in terms of like communism and stuff like that.
Well, the best way I can put it to you is everybody knows how insane it got here during COVID, and Albertans are the only ones who ousted their premier, right? We got rid of our leader of Alberta, and we said no more of this. And I would say we have the most conservative leader in the nation, and probably the best politician is our premier. People can take or leave that, but I mean, you look at the competition, and I mean, nobody else got rid of their premier. Over time, they have. But in the middle of COVID, or I guess at the end of COVID, Albertans have had enough, and they ousted Jason Kenney. In came Premier Daniel Smith. And so Alberta is where I sit right now, right on the border, actually, of Alberta, Saskatchewan. But I mean, Canada as a whole is a very interesting place right now.
Yeah, it seems like you guys got a little bit more communism than the United States. We got a lot of that too. I'm in California. We got a lot of communism in California. I mean, taxes are insanity. I mean, every check they're just like stealing. It's crazy, and it's getting worse and worse. And everything's super expensive. You go out and have lunch by yourself, $55. It's like, what the fuck? Used to be able to have lunch for like $16. It's insane. I don't know what's happening. I mean, are they? I don't know if it's too late to save this place we live in, or if we're in the middle of something. I don't know what it is anymore. I'm like, I really don't talk about politics that much anymore. I'm sure you're seeing some old videos of me on JRE where I'm going off, but now I'm confused. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
When you say you're confused, could you just elaborate?
Well, everybody knows there's a swamp to be drained, and Trump, was the guy running on that. He was going to drain the swamp. Everybody knows there's a swamp in every country in regards to politics, and Trump was running on that. And so far in his second term, it doesn't appear to be going as planned. It appears like, damn, were we tricked? Is he one of them too? Fuck. But I don't know. Maybe it's like some, people say 5D chess. Maybe he's just I don't know. Maybe this is how you drain the swamp, is by pretending you're in the swamp and then you're part of the swamp, and that's how you drain it, because you got to get in it. I don't know. It's like, man, it seems like evil is winning. That's what it seems like. It seems like you can't drain the swamp. It's too dark. I mean, think about all the years of all the criminals that have been running the United States, from just like the Bush, like George Bush Sr. He's a Republican, demon. And then after him, Clinton, Democrat, demon. And then, he did 8 years. And then 8 years with George Bush Jr., demon, Republican. And then after that, Obama, 8 years of him, Democrat, demon. So they had so many years to protect themselves with power and to make sure no one can take that away. And maybe it's too late. They had decades. At least maybe it goes way beyond that, like in the 60s and 70s. But then I don't know. JFK is supposed to be a good guy, but maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was part of it too. And I don't know. It's hard to trust anybody these days. I just sit back and watch and see how it all plays out.
Well, I guess on this side, I'm an eternal optimist, and I think whenever evil thinks it's it's got you by the tail, or whatever jujitsu term you want to throw in there, I think they've overplayed their hand. I mean, that doesn't mean that easy days are ahead of us. Full stop. They're not. I just I've seen on this side, Eddie. I was a hockey player. I rolled into podcasting to interview athletes. That's how you would have come the first time around if I was still the same guy when I started the show. Would have been interviewing you because of jiu-jitsu. I got to interview a few different people, one of them being a UFC fighter, which he laughed at me because I knew nothing about it. But I was just interested in different athletes and how they push themselves to get to the highest levels. I found that to be very useful for myself and probably, I hoped, younger kids who are trying to chase dreams like that. Like, the hard work and dedication it takes to get to the next level is insane. Full stop. And then I fell into this COVID world in Canada, and nothing made sense. And while I look back at that and go, wow, that was a dark time. You open your eyes and you're like, we are in a dark time. And yet I keep finding lovely human beings all over the place that come together and want better for our world, want better for our communities. And I think they're getting educated and getting up to speed on a bunch of stuff. They're getting involved. And does that mean that all of a sudden it's just like a snap and it all goes to this great whatever utopia? Absolutely not. But I think having more warriors on the field or more players on the pitch is a heck of a lot better than where we were. Because I feel like it was I don't know why I'm thinking of soccer, folks, but it was like a full team versus maybe a goalie, and they were just scoring at will. And I think today there is more people starting to realize everything is just upside down. And once again, that doesn't mean that in 2 days it's all better. Full stop. No. But I think that lends the opportunity for it to get better.
I agree with that. I'm an optimist. I have hope. I have some belief that all of this is going on because it's necessary. And I'm hopeful that the swamp is being drained, but in order for it to be drained, it has to seem like it's not. You know what I mean? So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that there's some 5D chess going on, because if there isn't, I mean, shit, we're fucked. But there are a lot more, podcast hosts being awakened and speaking more common sense than before. So it does seem like that's why, I really don't, back in the day, I was the one talking all the shit, me, Alex Jones, and David Icke. But now there's so many other people out there, and I'm like, yeah, it's your turn. Let me just kick back and watch, and it's your turn. Go, go, go. Because no one believes me anymore. Like if someone said something to someone who still doesn't get it, and it came from Alex Jones, they would never believe it. You know, like they're all programmed to think that everything that comes out of Alex Jones's mouth is bullshit. That's, you know, the people that are we're trying to wake up. But when you get someone that used to be on their side and now they're kind of slowly waking up, when they talk about these things, then they listen to them. You know what I mean? So whatever I say, no one's going to believe me anymore. And whatever Alex Jones says, that's no one's going to believe him. Only people that already on their side. Yeah, but like new people, and we need to keep awakening new people. So it's very important that you have people, you know, podcast hosts that at one time were brainwashed and totally programmed and indoctrinated, and now slowly that's all starting to crack, and they're starting to realize that they've been lied to their whole lives, and the scamdemic was a big part of that awakened so many people, you know. So so that it was like needed, like we needed that scamdemic. Like people like think, oh, what a horrible time, but when you look back at it, we couldn't have done it without it. We needed that, the worldwide lockdown, and you couldn't go to the beach, and you had to fucking wear a mask everywhere you went, and 6 feet apart, and all the bullshit. We needed all that, because now it'll never happen again. Like they can never do that shit again. No one's gonna buy that. They tried to like several times. They go, oh, new fucking virus, and people just tune out. So I like it that I like the scamdemic in the sense that we got it over with, and they could never do that shit again. That shit'll never work. They got it once. You couldn't go to the beach, but you could go to fast food restaurants. Fast food was open. Everything was closed, but McDonald's was never closed. Carl's Jr., Jack in the Box, all the fast food places never closed. Pizza wasn't closed, but parks were, and gyms were, and the beach was. That was like the ultimate in global retardation.
Yes, you are correct. We had a kid arrested on an outdoor rink near Calgary, Alberta, for skating on an outdoor rink.
Yeah.
They put
Yeah.
gravel on the outdoor rink so kids could go skating on it. And at the time, when you're like, Eddie, you need new people. I'm going to be full stop here. For people who haven't been listening the entire time. At the time, I was thinking, oh, maybe there's a reason. Maybe, you know, people, I mean, I was trying to jump through all the mental hoops of like, maybe there's a reason why. And now when I go back and listen to myself trying to reason it out and sounding like a buffoon of just like, what was I trying to, like, there was no way you could jump through that many hoops. They arrested a woman in my town for not wearing a mask in the lobby of a pool. Okay. So she's in the lobby of the pool, and you look out in the pool, nobody's wearing a mask in the pool. I remember sitting in the hot tub thinking, geez, COVID must not be able to swim. Right? Like, it, you know, like the mental hoops you had to jump through to get there.
We needed that. It'll never happen again. A lot of people woke up. So, you know, it's kind of necessary, I think, some of the bullshit, you know, and like Trump was always anti-vax. If you look at his old tweets from the early 2010s, he'd always tweet out stuff about being anti-vax. But all of a sudden he's president, scamdemic hits, and now he's super pro-vax. Like that didn't make any sense. I'm like, wait a minute. There's you can't go, nobody goes anti-vax to pro-vax. Everybody goes pro-vax to anti-vax. No one goes anti-vax and now they're pro-vax. It's never existed ever. So that was weird to me. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And like, you know, his base was pissed off. Like, why is he pushing the fucking vax so much? I thought he was anti-vax. But, you know, some 5D chess hopefuls were saying he's doing that to crush the lockdown, and it's going to crush the vaccines, because he got like the DOD to somehow go from, we need 10 years of testing, which they never do anyways. It's weird. They don't even do, but they always say it takes 10 years, to like 9 months. And then everybody was against what he was doing. He's like, Operation Warp Speed? That sounds retarded. And you're going to come out with a vaccine in 10 months? And he's like, yep, we're going to do it. Watch, you just wait. And like Kamala and Biden were like, he's retarded. You can't come up with a vaccine in 10 months. You need 10 years. And they were so against it. But Trump's like, nope, it's going to happen. Watch, it's going to happen. And it happened. And when it happened, they all had a flip. Then they all pushed the vaccine. And then Trump's gone. They stole the election. Now Biden's in. Now he's all pushing the vaccine. And, people fucking died from that shit. People were getting killed from that. And my uncle died from it. My aunt has myocarditis from it. My mom has blood clots from it. My niece had like there's all these side effects. My whole family had all those side effects that were listed, a whole shitload of them. My family went through all of them, including death. And everybody knows people that were fucked up for the vaccine and the jab. And now there's more anti-vaxxers than ever before. And like the vaccine industry is like ready to crumble, because now they're not just questioning the COVID vaccine, but they're questioning all the vaccines, the mumps, measles vaccine, polio, all that shit. Everyone's going back and finding out like, damn, they never tested for any of that shit. There's never any real testing. They just fucking put it out there. It's like it's like the purpose of vaccines are to create pharmaceutical customers for life. That's what it's about. It's not about health. Nothing's about health. Like the COVID vaccine, like how is that about health? You guys didn't shut down fast food places. You shut down parts of supermarkets that had nothing to do with COVID, but you left open like all the sugary cereals and all that. You could go in there and buy Cocoa Puffs, but you can't go to the gym. So none of it made sense. It's not about health. It's the opposite. They needed a reason to stick you, to fuck you up. They were trying to fuck you up. That was the whole reason. And the only way to do that is to make you think that it's going to help you. And that's what all the bullshit was, the PCR tests and all that bullshit. The hijacking of the flu. There was no COVID. It was just the flu. People get the flu. It's people get the flu. Like, that's just part of life. That's your body cleansing itself, your body detoxing. That's what the flu is. That's what colds are. And that's what COVID was. But they changed the name and made it really scary and told everybody that they were going to be collapsing on the sidewalk and people are going to be like dying everywhere. Meanwhile, they were dying from the jab. That's the joke.
If you said you got your feet, not your feet up, but you're sitting back and you're like, I think I put in my time. I've kind of like helped push, and now we got some new people, podcasters all over talking about this. You think about that long term, like over the next decade, 2 decades, of how many new people have come into like, what is going on? Is that the large fight? The positive way of looking at it is like you started something, helped start something that has now got new people to pick up the mantle and push it forward, and hopefully more people pick up that mantle and keep pushing it forward. So maybe we get back to a place of common sense.
Yeah, it's y'all's turn. I just I just want to sit back because I don't know what's going on. It's very confusing. I do know that mainstream media, CNN and like CBS, NBC, like I know mainstream media cannot be trusted. I know that, and a big part of the way to find the truth is to watch mainstream media and okay, trying to push how are they twisting the truth, because sometimes CNN, they'll report on the truth but they twist it and they spin it in a way that pushes the overall agenda. So sometimes you gotta watch CNN just to find the truth, you know what I mean, but you gotta like kind of like reverse engineer it.
I'm going to go back. You know, when we first started talking, or maybe before we started talking, we talked about, positive. Everything today is so negative. You look at comedy and music and some different things like that. Like you wanted, obviously you said, well, if I'd been a rock star when I was young, I probably wouldn't be here. So thankfully that didn't happen. Yet you still make music. What is it about music that, I don't know, if I take the positive mindset, Eddie, I go, what is it that you find in creating music that lights you up?
I'm a huge music fanatic, and I'm fascinated with songs that put me under spells and make me put them on repeat. So I've always been looking for songs that make me put it on repeat. And to me, that's just super fascinating that there's these certain songs that just they get into your soul, and it's like sorcery. And when if you're putting a song on repeat and you're driving around and you're driving in the slow lane because you don't want to get to where you're going because you want to hear this song as many times as possible. I love that. I love it. And the songs make you cry. It's just like they're just so deep in the connection of all the notes and the chords and the vocal melodies and the harmonies and everything. Just it's like it really is magic. So that fascinates the hell out of me when I find a song like that because they're rare. So um, that makes me want to do that and create something like that. That I'm like, I'm just trying to create songs that people will put on repeat, and that's the goal. I'd love that, and because I love it when other bands do it, and then I get to benefit from it. So I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to make music, a big block of music, an hour of music that people can really forget about their problems and just really, just dive into it and feel it, put it on repeat. It's something about, music is like when we're talking about the scamdemic and we're talking about, health. A lot of people were taking zinc to battle the flu, which got renamed as COVID, but that's all it is. It was just the flu. And they were taking zinc, but with the zinc, you needed to take quercetin. And quercetin was the vehicle that takes the zinc into your blood cells. Because if you don't have the quercetin, this is what they say. I don't even know if it's true, but this is what they say. Zinc is needed to battle the virus, if you believe viruses exist, or the infection or the sickness. You need zinc. You got to get zinc into your red blood cells or something. And the only way the zinc can get in and penetrate the membrane of the cells is with the quercetin. So the quercetin attaches itself to the zinc. The quercetin can get in and it drags the zinc in, and then you start the healing process. That's what they say. So whether that's true or not, just the analogy of that can be used for music, because when you have words, you could tell somebody a sentence, a statement, a phrase, and they can hear it, and it might have some impact, but the impact is never as powerful as if those words had music that resonated with your soul. And the music is like the quercetin that gets those words, those simple words into your soul. So you need the music is what gets the words in. The words on their own aren't as powerful. It's like zinc in capsule form without the quercetin. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yeah, it brings up a
The
lot of
music,
music
the
that
music,
I'm
music is the vehicle to get the words in. So when you have a song, like the music is so good, those simple ass lyrics are going to mean so much to you. They really get in. So I think that's what music is. It's like, it's a way to get a message into you and make it have maximum impact. I
What's a
love that.
song you have on repeat then? What's one song that's doing that to you right now?
There is no song currently that I have on repeat. They come up, every few months or so. But uh, off the top of my head, there's a band called White Lies. They're from England, White Lies, and they have a song called Bigger Than Us. Bigger Than Us. That one had me on repeat for like a week. It's usually like the repeat magic lasts about 3 days and then eventually wears off, and then it becomes like a song that comes up in your playlist every now and then. You love it, but you don't want to put it over and over again because you already like that. Only happens one, longest one. Bigger Than Us, Why Lies. The chorus, you got to wait for the chorus. The verses are just set up, but the chorus is just so good. The video is super powerful. If you watch the music video, oh man, it's so good. That's such a good one. That's one of the greatest songs of all time, in my opinion.
Well, I tell you what, as a music lover on this side, I've never heard of this song, so I'm going to take a look after this podcast is done. Now, before I let you out of here, not to pull you back to politics, but it's been stewing in my brain since you said it. You walked through Clinton, Bush, Obama, and every time you said it, you said demon. I'm like, what did you mean by that?
They're just bad guys. They're not interested in the slaves, the peasants, the people, me and you. They have all they're interested in is, and just most government officials, most of the elite, the rulers, whatever you want to call them, Illuminati, they're worried about keeping their power. Because, like in Venezuela, for instance, they captured the Maduro guy, whatever. Apparently he was evil. But his crew, his commanders, his military, they had the power. They had all the power. But now he's gone. Damn, what happens to their power? The power shifts. So that most countries, most people that have all the power, all they're interested in is keeping their power and making sure that they don't lose their power, and then they don't get put on some Nuremberg trials. You know what I mean? Because you could be powerful as fuck. You could be like the army general of whatever country. But if someone fucks with that country, takes over, and there's a regime change, you're fucked. So I think that's what everything is. I think everything going on is just everybody doing everything they can to make sure they don't lose their power, and a new regime comes in and kills them, executes them, puts them in prison, or they end up fleeing the country, and now they're in another part of the world, poor. So I think that's what they're really worried about.
Eddie, appreciate you giving me time today. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for being the 1000th episode on this side. A cool moment for me, and I'm sure just another podcast in your series of that you've done for a long time. But either way, thanks for hopping on and doing this on this side.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And if you want to check out my music, I dropped an album in 2017. It's on YouTube. It's called Mix Flick of Death and Devotion. Mix Flick of Death and Devotion. It's 15 songs, and they're all cut to my favorite movies. So you hear the music, and they're all cut to my favorite movies, like Scarface, The Crow, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Sin City, Memento. Just a shit ton of awesome movies that I cut all my music to. It's called Mixed Flick of Death and Devotion. I released that in 2017. That's on YouTube. 2 years ago, I released an album, like a comedy parody album called, the band's name is Hook Thieves. And the name of the album is Jar of Lies. It's like a comedy album. And there's like a Joe Biden song on there. There's a song about the scamdemic on there called Practicing Killing. There's a song about the border crisis called El Coyote. So it's called Hook Thieves, Jar of Lies. It's on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Music. It's comedy music. But my serious shit is on YouTube, Mixed Flick of Death and Devotion. Check it out.
Thanks, Eddie. Appreciate you doing this.